Hello, friends. Thanks for tuning in. Great to have you here, and I appreciate you joining us on another episode of Ask the Expert. Today, I have a special guest with me. He's located in Alabama, and actually I've been following him for quite some time on social media. It started on Instagram, and then we connected on through other networks as well. My guest is actually fighting Parkinson's disease. He has Parkinson's disease, and he's going to share with us his experience, how it's affected him, what he's doing to combat the disease, because I know that he's been very active in fighting back against Parkinson's. So I'd like to introduce my very special guest, John Carmichael. Thank you, John, for taking the time on the 4th of July to join me. How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
Good. Yeah, well, I appreciate you taking the time. We've been trying to connect for a while, and our schedules are both kind of crazy. But I was wondering if you don't mind telling my viewers a little bit about yourself.
Okay. I'm John Carmichael, and I do live in what I call L.A. We call it Lower Alabama down here. I'm a licensed practical nurse. I work with Reed State Technical College as a student advisor in the nursing program there. And I'm married. I have 3 kids, and they're all grown, of course. And I'm a combat veteran, proudly served with the U.S. Army, and really just a normal guy just trying to get through life and take care of Parkinson's along the way.
Well, in following your activity, you've been doing some really cool stuff. Just in general, but especially some of the activities you're involved in, and the bicycling and other things, which we'll talk about that in a little while. So let me ask you this: when were you diagnosed, and what age were you when you were diagnosed?
I was diagnosed March of last year. So I was 49 at the time, and which is not young necessarily, it's not old. I think I was symptomatic for a little while. I was just kind of ignoring it a little bit, and so finally went to the doctor, and we went down the road to getting diagnosed. I started going to the doctor about 9 or 10 months prior to the diagnosis, so it took a little while to get there.
Okay. What were your first symptoms?
Well, I started noticing some balance issues, some fine tremors, some hand. Being a nurse, I was kind of suspect of a couple of things. I was having some confusion, a little bit of anxiety. I wasn't necessarily freezing, I just wasn't walking right, and was noticing just a change in my expression. Initially, my family doctor, of course, did a MRI to rule out like MS, things like that, and then sent me to a neurologist who did a lot of follow-up testing, and also sent me to a neuropsychologist to do some cognitive function and ability testing, things like that. So, but some of those first symptoms were just balance and movement, really, tremors, and some confusion and focus issues.
Okay. Regarding tremors, I'm just curious, is that on one side?
Yeah, I'm actually from my reading, I would be that first level of Parkinson's. It predominantly affects my right side, and it's moved to my foot and leg some. Not as much, but the freezing was all on the right side. The balance seems to be more like I call it my drunk walk. I'll be walking and start just going to the right a lot of times, it's the tremor is definitely on the right. It's really noticeable. It was kind of inconsistent in the beginning. It got more and more noticeable as time went on.
Okay.
So medicine started. He started working with medicines at that point. But yeah.
I'm going to jump to the medicine question now. What medications are you taking, if you don't mind sharing that?
Oh, I don't mind. Initially, he started me with carbidopa, levodopa, and I take it 3 times a day. I do have the option to take it more. He tells me that, if I'm experiencing some extra off time or something or different things like that. He started an additional medication, Azilect, which has been a beneficial medicine to help with falling and balance and things, and also it supplemented the carbidopa levodopa quite well in symptom control. But I noticed a secondary benefit because it's an MAOB inhibitor, so it started helping me emotionally a little bit.
Oh, okay.
And, I started seeing some plus benefits on that side. For the cognitive part of it, they started me on Aricept. Unfortunately, memory is leaving me pretty quickly, and that's my biggest concern at this point is certainly memory, and the fear of Parkinson's onset, Parkinson's related dementia, things like that. I do take a couple of supplements, vitamin B12 certainly for helping maintain energy levels, and they track my B12 levels, and vitamin D. And those are at the urging of my neurologist.
In the courses that I teach all over about Parkinson's, for the first couple hours or lecture, we're just learning about, what is it? How do people get it? Of course, we don't really know, but we still have a part about that. How does it affect people? Motor symptoms, non-motor symptoms. And I know a low vitamin D is definitely one of the things that's common.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. Let's go back to the emotional side, if you don't mind. So upon your diagnosis, or let's go back to before that. How are you feeling before that? Did you have any type of, let's say, depression? You mentioned anxiety. And then how does that compare to, like, how your initial reaction when you were actually diagnosed? You realized, okay, I have Parkinson's disease. What was going on emotionally then?
Well, I started noticing that I was sort of unplugged from people, which is, normally I'm a very outgoing and high energy kind of person. And I noticed people started asking me a lot more, hey, are you okay? What's wrong? My facial expression, of course, was getting more flat, but emotionally, I just felt unplugged from people. I was more, I walked around more concerned, and I would say, yes, depressed, but I didn't know what was causing it. Now, after I got diagnosed with Parkinson's, as a nurse, dealing with patients who have had Parkinson's, it hurt. I was really sad about it. And it still hurts some days. My wife and I, my wife's a registered nurse, and we had a good little cry for a while. It was depressing. It was hard. I was angry. And I didn't know how I was going to tell people. I didn't know how to deal with people. And I still get there some days. Some days I'm depressed. Some days I wake up and I struggle. Some days I can't relate to people. I get lost in my own feelings. I knew that Parkinson's would eventually steal my movement. If the cure is not found, it's going to rob me of my independence. So, it sort of paints a pretty bleak picture, but you can't let that take control of you. You have to look at today and run with today like crazy and hope that tomorrow's just as good. So yeah, I had to get through the quick pity party and say, okay, I'm not going to let this define me, and then I moved forward.
I'm really glad you said that because this comes up at a lot of workshops. I'm thinking of one lady in particular in London who, she says, Parkinson's does not define me. I just live with it.
A lot of people say that. I can't coin that phrase. A lot of people say that.
Yeah, I think it even came up at the World Parkinson's Congress in Portland, Oregon last year because I was there, which is an amazing conference. If you ever get a chance to go, the next one is Japan 2 years from now. We should go. I plan on going. It's amazing because they have this network of, or this mix of, like, we have 4,500 people. We probably had, 800, 1,000 people with PD, caregivers, neurologists, people from the medical community, a few fitness people, not a lot, but some of us were there. And it was an amazing mix where we could all interact together. And, one of the things that comes up and very regularly is we may have Parkinson's, but it isn't who we are. Right. So I actually took that now in my workshops. And not to talk about me, but it is kind of fun because when we get to the workshops, I have this ridiculous joke because as I say to people, if I wasn't ridiculous, I would be boring. So the joke is people with Parkinson's are people too. It doesn't define them. It isn't who they are. They may have had other problems too. Maybe they had cancer. Maybe they had, who knows, right? Any number of different issues going on. So, I'm glad that you have, well, I also want to just kind of go off for a minute because one of the other things that really made me want to connect with you and communicate regularly and interview you is your blog. You write some nice stuff. That was the thing right there. It's like, okay, I don't have time right now, but as soon as I have time, I need to get to know this guy. So what is your blog address? Because people should go check that out.
I just say, really, it just addresses just sort of my take on living with Parkinson's and trying to stay positive in that. But I write it. I think I've been told by many people who read it that don't have Parkinson's that they may have lost a loved one or they may have cancer or they may they just may be facing whatever issue. But I try to write it. Even though I write it from a perspective of Parkinson's, I try to write it general enough so that people can be encouraged. Life can be tough. People face all kinds of adversity. I don't think that because I have Parkinson's, I've cornered the market on saying, "Oh Lord, I have the biggest challenge in life." A lot of the things I do, I look at benefits that benefit other things. Like I look at children that fight cancer. I mean, I can't even begin to think what that would be like to be like 7 or 8 years old and battling, for your life. And I am amazed. I watched last night. I mean, even as I watched Jimmy Choi on Ninja Warrior, I was so encouraged by his story, and I was encouraged by Michael J. Fox. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. My wife's like, why do you have tears going down your face? I mean, I was just so moved by it. And then right after that, we're watching the Spartan Challenge, and there's a team on there with these guys who were veterans from Afghanistan, and one of them's missing a leg, and one of them's missing an arm. And these guys are doing the Spartan Challenge. And I'm like, I mean, come on. What's my excuse? So, it's just amazing. So that's why I write that blog. I want people to when they have that bad day, they can look at it and say, either they'll find something that's really crazy in it, really silly, because I rely on humor, but I hope they find encouragement, and I hope that at least picks them up for just a minute. It helped me get my feelings out.
Sure.
It was a big healing process, but it truly, once people started reading it, I was so encouraged to continue writing.
What is the website?
Not people with Parkinson's.
Yeah, what's the website address for that?
It's actually on WordPress, and it's just J. Carmichael. I'm trying to remember. I can look it up toward the end of this, and I'll give it to you. But
I'll find it. I'll put a link on the screen, and people can just click and go. Yeah, but it's really well.
Like I said, remember.
Yeah. No, it's fine. It's really well written. There is humor in it, and I find it to be uplifting. And that's when I only read like 2 paragraphs the first time I hit on it. I think I went to it from your Instagram account because I think you have a link from there. I'll get the link from there. I click over and I'm like, let's check this out. Like, okay, this is really good. So I appreciate what you're doing there. You're doing a great job with that.
Thank you. I know. I talk about humor, and there's one out there. If you haven't read it yet, that song, "Watch Me." I actually wrote a parody to having Parkinson's to that song. I was hugging my wife goodbye for work one day, and my leg just started this crazy dance. I mean, it was like trembling like crazy, and so I started singing "Do the Shaky Leg," and she started laughing. She's like, "You're so crazy." And I actually sat down and in about 10 minutes wrote a parody to that song, "Watch Me," and published it on my blog. And Allison Topperwayne, I don't know if you know her, Topperwayne, I don't know how to say her name. She was on American Ninja Warrior last year. She actually picked it up on her Huffington Post blog. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah, she's a big Parkinson's champion too. So
wow.
She picked it up on her blog. So I was really excited about that.
That's great, man.
But it's pretty funny. It is funny. You'll have to read that one.
I'll check that out for sure. Let me move forward with a couple other questions. I'm getting my list in front of me here because I just lost it. So we talked about actually some of the ways Parkinson's has affected your life. Is there anything more as far as that you'd like to talk about? Because actually what I want to start to get into in a minute is what you're doing to combat it besides medications. But as far as affecting your life in any way, physically or any challenges, anything additional you want to share there?
Well, there's the normal stuff with Parkinson's, like some days you can't really sleep. Your handwriting's like itty bitty, so you have to really focus on trying to change that. I talked with you a little bit ahead of time. I'm taking a speech class, so certainly the voice level, facial expression. People don't really understand the emotion behind what you're saying sometimes. Falling is always a challenge.
Yeah.
Swallowing. The simple act of just swallowing food sometimes can be a challenge. Mm-hmm. I told someone recently that you fight movement constantly. I spend more time being tired or stiff from trying not to move because it's such a self-image thing that it's like pressing the gas and the brake in your car all the time. You're trying to go and stop at the same time. So, it's just a challenge sometimes, and it's not bad all the time. Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. It just depends, but it's just challenging. So, I know a lot of Parkinson's folks face that. So.
Well, this information, although I'm familiar with hearing this, or from my clients or at workshops, I'm glad you're sharing all this because a lot of people are not aware of, for example, maybe even trying to put food in your mouth. I know for some people, if they're right hand dominant and their tremor's here, it might not only just be the tremor, but I know one of my clients has trouble with turning his arm to be able to get the fork in his mouth. It's a real challenge. And then what's happened is, like, some people don't want to go out anymore in public because they don't want to be looking like that in public. There's a self-image. So they become less social. And so there's that kind of thing. And I think for a lot of people who are just not aware of this, so I appreciate you sharing this because there's to a lot of people, these would be little things we would never even think about. I even remember my first client who couldn't roll over, right? couldn't roll over. Like, I never even thought about the idea that you could lose the ability to roll over in bed, and you would need help. So actually went out and learned, strategy to help people roll. And fortunately, it has helped many people to be able to regain that ability. But who would have thought that, right? Rolling over in bed. We just all do it. We wake up and we just roll over and get out. But that's not the case for everyone.
I saw it once. There's a huge issue with your feet kind of drawing up in bed when you're trying to sleep. And I read one time where Michael J. Fox actually said that, since that's a factor that keeps him awake, he actually keeps a pair of hard shoes. And when his feet start drawing up, he just gets up and puts these really tight-fitting loafers on and goes back to sleep with his shoes on.
Oh.
You learn to adapt to things considerably with Parkinson. So
right.
Yeah.
Well, let's take it forward a notch now. So you've shared a lot with us about when you were diagnosed, tremors or the symptoms you had before, how it's been affecting you. But I also know that you're exercising. You're doing things. You did like a 37-mile bike ride recently or something, or maybe longer.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on. I'll just put it out there as a general question, but please include exercise in your answer. What are you doing to combat Parkinson's?
Definitely exercise. I read a study early on, probably within the first month. I went to Walmart and bought like a mountain bike. Just started biking. I said I got to do something, and I remember struggling to make 5 miles and doing like it was taking me forever to do those 5 miles. And I joined the gym, started working on strength and flexibility. And then a friend of mine who lost her daughter to cancer that I work with, she told me about a local bike ride, 25-mile ride. So I started focusing on that and made my first 25-mile ride. Now I did it on that mountain bike, which was a challenge. And but it wasn't long after that I bought a regular road bike and started training hard. And I made some training rides right at 60 miles. And that's in a year's time. I've made it up to 60 miles. I'm getting about, around 14 to 15 miles an hour sometimes average. I did just finish one it was a cancer ride here locally. It was a 37-mile ride in the pouring rain. So biking certainly helps. Biking, the days that I don't bike, I notice that my symptoms are a little worse. The days that I do bike, my symptoms are really well controlled. I wouldn't say enough to stop medicine, but it's enough to not add extra medicine.
Yeah.
Mentally, oh Lord, it exercise just creates all this positive energy in you. So mentally, if you can't do anything but walk, if that's all you feel comfortable doing, get out and do it, because it's going to help your mind as much as it helps your body. I've started entertaining, looking into things like maybe Tai Chi or yoga to improve flexibility and balance, because I'm currently training. I just signed up Sunday for the Warrior Dash, which is for St. Jude's Hospital. Yeah, that made me scared, but I was like, okay, we need to do this. But it's in it's just north of Baton Rouge in October, so I got a couple of months. But I'm doing another obstacle course race in September. I call it Delta Dash, which is local, but it's a 5K. And so I'm trying to spread out a little bit, do some different things other than biking. And but what I found is, like, I'm healthier now at 50 than I have been most of my life. And my outlook is like so much better, and it helps my relationships with others, and sort of gives me goals to work for and to look forward to. So it gives me, instead of sitting around and focusing on Parkinson's all the time and saying, well, this helps my Parkinson's, or this keeps me from having bad symptoms. I say, look at what I can do. Look at the benefit it is to children with cancer, or to, like I did a ride for injured veterans. Look at the benefits to others, and when it sort of takes the focus off of me, and it actually minimizes the fact that I have Parkinson's within my own mind. I mean, it's still there, but it helps lessen the impact, I guess, in my day-to-day life. So, yeah, exercise, 100%. Get knowledgeable on Parkinson's. Meet up with people like Carl Sterling. See what he's doing in the world of Parkinson's. But seriously, find the experts out there, and get knowledgeable. Be smart about it. I had a little bit of a jump on it because I'm a nurse, but, there are tons of information out there. And if you have the opportunity, get into a program. We're less fortunate here because there's not a lot of Parkinson's support and things in this area. But if you can get into an area where you can go to, like you see all these things about boxing and, just movement, get involved, do that, volunteer to help with, even if it's not Parkinson's, just volunteer to help with something. It is tough. Self-image is horrible. I struggle to go out and eat in restaurants, but you can't help the fact that you have Parkinson's. You can't help the fact that you move. So, you might as well roll with it. And so just find that positive attitude, even if it's just realizing that you got up this morning, your feet touched the floor, and you didn't fall on the floor. So that's a plus. So. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, I know I'll just add a little bit here about what some of the stuff that we teach. And, I haven't, none of this is my information. I just get it from experts, and a lot of it comes from the neurology world. First of all, you get moving, whether you have Parkinson's or not, usually you start to feel better anyways, no matter who it is, right? Because things start going on in your brain. Substances get produced. You feel better. For example, BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, gets created if you elevate your heart rate for long enough. And it could, they believe that that's produced if you just do the equivalent of walking fast for like 20 to 30 minutes. Right? Just get the heart rate up just enough to create that. Well, that's like a miracle grow for the brain. There's plenty of research out there that talks about BDNF. And so if you're taking medications, they believe that it helps the uptake of the medication to get in your body faster, assimilate more, and stay for longer. And, it helps all these neurotransmitters, it helps things to work better, basically, maybe slow the progression of dying brain cells and maybe even give birth to new brain cells. But the whole idea is, I have this thing I tell people, just get started. Because I am as guilty as everybody else out there. I will admit that at least half the time that I work out, I don't really feel like it before I do. So I force myself. And, usually within 5 minutes, I'm ready to rock and roll and keep going. And then sometimes I want to go longer than I thought I would. But I'm so glad to hear, and we talked on the phone for quite a while here last month. So I got to know a lot more about you, but I'm real impressed with all the stuff you're doing, because you're not doing the easy stuff either. You're doing a warrior dash, for gosh sakes. Yeah. I think I'm afraid of that. Yeah, I'm afraid of that one. Although I'd kind of like to do one at some point. So,
yeah, I'll let you know how it goes.
Yeah, please do. I'll let you do it first. You're taking a real proactive approach on fighting back, combating, we know when we exercise, it's kind of like nature's antidepressant, right? So we know that depression is the number one non-motor symptom of Parkinson's, and anxiety can be relieved somewhat by exercise too. So right off the bat there, we feel better. And I know you were saying you feel a lot better after you exercise too.
Oh yeah, and I in the beginning, I'm telling you, I hated it. But in the beginning, it was tough. But after you can get through that initial, I guess, apprehension about starting any workout regimen. But I always do tell people though, whatever things you have going on, be sure to check with people that know, like your doctor or physical therapy type people before you start any of that, because you don't want to injure yourself certainly and compound things. But the other thing I tell people, because even as I dealt with elderly patients and things, folks that didn't have PD, I just encourage people, pick something you like. Not everybody's going to like biking. Not everybody's going to like running. Pick something you like and you'll stick with it. So that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, that's a really good point. It's one of the things that we teach also, because you have to pick something you like or you're not likely to keep doing it, Something's better than nothing, so pick the things you like.
Yeah.
So let me move forward with another question. I keep losing my question list. Here it is. So let me ask you this. So do you feel that the exercise has helped you to manage the disease symptoms better?
Oh yeah, definitely. I've had some periods where, I would miss a week, and my symptoms would actually start kind of declining, they would get worse. So I know that I know for a fact that there's a positive impact on my symptom control. I find that I don't have to take the extra medicine. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. However, some of it, exercise doesn't necessarily help. You had asked me one time before, and I think even on this question list, about on and off times with medicine.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're going to have off days, and sometimes it can be off hours, or sometimes it can be in cycles of 2 or 3 days, 4 days. You just have to manage through those, and track those and tell your doctor about them, tell your neurologist about them. But see if you can find some commonalities. Is something going on in your life? Are you not exercising? Are you having huge diet changes, things like that? Is there a lot of stress going on? Some of that affects anything that would normally affect your mind would certainly affect the uptake of the medicine. So
sure.
Just try to look at those things, but just know that you're going to have off days, and don't let them get you down, because they will beat you up. So off days are horrible.
Yeah. Well, I think that you're welcome to add anything additional that you want to, but the last question I have for you is, what was your takeaway message, or let's say, what advice do you have that you want to share for anyone and everyone? Let's say people with Parkinson's, caregivers, anyone. What would be your takeaway message? What do you want to share with them the most?
Well, I would say I have 2 messages. One is really for caregivers and just for families and friends and really just people in general. Don't be frustrated too much by us. Our facial expressions, our sometimes lack of good choices for words, sometimes our self-absorption with what's going on with us does not mean that we don't care about you. It's just difficult sometimes. We do appreciate you. We thank you and appreciate the concern and the care and things like that. But just realize you got to be patient with us. For people with Parkinson's, you need to remember that those caregivers and family members and friends. I was reminded by a friend of mine one time that you're going through the disease. It's your disease, but I'm going through it with you too, because I'm losing the person that you were. Mm-hmm. So there's just as much loss for family members and caregivers. So as someone with Parkinson's, we have to remember that as well. We're not the only ones suffering loss. We're just suffering different loss. Mm-hmm. And we've got to wake up each day and find the positives in it. And I'm not thankful that I have PD, and I shared this with you before on our telephone conversation. I'm not thankful that I have PD. I would not wake up any day and say, I'm glad I was blessed with PD, because I'm not. But I am glad to have a new perspective. I wake up and I appreciate each day for the gift that it is. Good or bad, it's going to have some positive in it. So I am thankful for each new day. And I have a quote kind of similar in one of my blogs that says, I don't plan to live in a world where my life is shaken by Parkinson's disease. I plan to shake up the world I live in each day. So
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. That's real good.
I can't say it's a quote. I don't know if I read that somewhere or if I actually came up with it. I can't really say because, unfortunately memory is not great. But yeah, so that's how I try to live. I try to figure out how I'm going to shake up the world each day. And I think everyone with Parkinson's, instead of saying Parkinson's is defining me, I'm not going to be defined by it. I'm going to shake up the world and make a difference regardless. So.
I love it, man. That's really inspiring. Just like you are inspiring. Your blog is inspiring. The activities you're doing are so inspiring. I'm admit I have thought about doing a Warrior Dash, and I'm too much of a chicken.
You can do it, man.
But you're doing it. Yeah, I know. I one of these days, I did a Spartan a couple of years ago with my kids. Did an obstacle challenge in New York City. That was really fun. The Spartan wasn't too bad. It was a short one, so there was only a little bit of mud, and it was actually really fun. But I know the Warrior Dash is some of those.
Obstacles. It's only 12 obstacles, and next October, you just come down from Syracuse, and you and I will run it in north of Baton Rouge in the heat.
I'll think about that.
All right.
Well, John, I've learned a lot from you. You've inspired me. You have been all along anyways, through your Instagram, through your blog. Really, again, appreciate, especially on a holiday here, July 4th, you taking this time to connect, share with me so that I can share with my audience and put this out there and help. Hopefully, my ultimate goal is always to reach out and have other people be affected in a positive way. That's the whole reason, well, one of two reasons for these interviews. One of them is self-indulgently, I get to learn. So for me, it's really good because I learn more. But then I get to share that with other people, and there's a lot that comes out of these things. Our traffic has been growing, so I'm very happy about that. We want to keep getting the word out. So thank you. Thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me. I hope someone is encouraged by this, truly. And I thank you for the work that you're doing in the world of Parkinson's because, just seeing work like from leaders like you, it encourages me to keep going and to try to make a difference just in my little community. So you keep going too.
Thank you. I will. We have things nobody knows about yet on the horizon in the near future that'll be getting out there that I think gonna. We can never promise. I don't want to create false hopes, but I think they're going to change the game, at least to bump it up a notch so people can manage disease symptoms even better. And none of it's my own original thoughts because I don't have any original thoughts. It just comes from all the experts out there and combining materials and going off of some of their research, neurologists and other people as well. So I'm just going to keep at it and do the best that I can. So
all right, man.
You and I are going to stay in touch. Stay on the line with me here, too. I'm going to just wrap it up, and I want to thank John again for joining me. I want to thank everyone out there who's watching or listening. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you found this to be useful and valuable. I know that I sure have. John's doing amazing things. So we're going to we'll get together again and do this. See, we'll do another view somewhere down the road, because I want to keep track of your progress and how you did in that Warrior Dash and all that kind of thing. So, for listeners out there, watchers out there, just keep tuning back in. And thanks again for watching. Have a great day.